had a conversation with one of my cantorial teachers. Somehow the phrase, making magic out of thin air, was used. I'm not sure what we were speaking about, an upcoming concert, her liminal space as she navigates retirement, my kids moving from middle school to high school and elementary to middle school, but this phrase stuck with me as exactly what we do here. Music, the act of creating vibrations, which translates into our brains as tone and pitch and rhythm. Music is an act of creating out of thin air. And when we do it well, when our instruments and our voices join together in a sacred act, such as in prayers, sometimes magic happens too. Nearly 6 years ago, the rabbis and I sat on a couch trying to envision a new kind of worship. There was an infinite number of aesthetics and options to choose from that might work for Temple Israel. I had recently returned from our teen federation trip to Israel, and I had recently been exposed to the music of a number of Israeli synagogue composers at conferences and through a publication called Libi B'Mizrach, My Heart is in the East. This is it. Let's create a worship that connects us to our progressive communities in Israel. It's not politics, it's just connection. With some postponement due to COVID, this Shabbat Shira was created, and this connection in mind. Over the last 2 years, through guest Cantor Yala Lachmish, my ACC mission to Israel this past summer, and the publication of the 3rd volume of Libi B'Mizrach, and my research on Mizrahi refugees as part of the story of Israel's beginning, I have grown my exposure, knowledge, and interest in the Jewish communities of the Middle East, and particularly the music traditions they carry with them. The music of Shabbat Shira has adapted to reflect this, adding more melodies from the Moroccan, Iraqi, and Yerushalmi traditions, highlighting the Middle Eastern rhythms that run throughout the Israeli communities. Sometimes, such as the prayer we just sang, we combine a piyut, a medieval poem, with a traditional prayer text that makes it more utilitarian in an American prayer context. But even as we limit the difficulty of using the piyut language, many paragraphs of medieval Hebrew, often with a rhyme scheme that is very difficult to translate, we maintain the traditional melodies of the communities very different than those who founded the Jewish community here in Omaha. Ki Eshmera Shabbat is using a Moroccan melody for a text written by Ibn Ezra, an 11th century Spanish Jewish scholar, commentator, and halachist, which the editors of the music book have now combined with the prayer words of Ishamru, as I just read. The theme is the same, the covenant between God and the Jewish people, and we, like magic, connect through time and space to God, history, Ibn Ezra, and the Jewish traditions of the Moroccan community. While the music can sometimes feel different in its tonality, its overall repetition, rhythmic sense, and short melodic phrases makes it quite catchy and easy to learn, I hope. I hope that you will find yourself humming along and picking it up pretty quickly, as I have. As the music of Shabbat Shira has changed, I have found myself ever more interested in our people who did not descend from Europe like my family did, who did not live for generations in a Christian world, but whose world history is so very different than the Eurocentric education I was raised on. I'm curious, and I want to know more. It will be a journey and one I hope you'll support me in going on, but learning more about these communities and their music is something I'd like to add to my library of knowledge. And one way I will do this is a mission I hope you will consider joining me on. Every other year, the American Conference of Cantors, the ACC, leads a community mission to an international location. And in February of 2027, I know that's like forever from now, but it's really just around the corner. In February of 2027, the ACC will be traveling to Morocco to explore its Jewish history, community, and the community that continues to live there, and see the amazing architecture, food, and enjoy the music that comes naturally when traveling with Cantors. This is our flyer for our trip to Morocco. There's some out there if you want to see more. Unlike a conference or my mission this past summer to Israel, these trips are designed for a Cantor to bring her congregation with her. We have a bit of time, but if you, like me, have been inspired by the music of Shabbat Shirah, if you would like to know more about the Jewish communities of North Africa and specifically Morocco, or you would just like a really amazing travel opportunity, please speak to me and I can share more information about this February 2027 mission. Shabbat Shirah service was designed to seek a different prayer aesthetic, one perhaps outside of the comfort zone of 20th and even 21st century American Reform worship. But this aesthetic was envisioned to help connect us to how other Jews pray around the world. First connecting to the Israeli progressive communities and now expanding to a timeless cultural community of places where Jews have lived since the Babylonian exile 2,500 years ago. The history of our community from the Euphrates all the way to the Straits of Gibraltar is long and diverse, and we are just touching the top of this sandy hill as we learn from the Pew team and the melodies they brought with them to Israel. Jewish worship, I have always believed, is about connection, connecting to the divine, connecting to the community sitting with us, and connecting across time and space to the whole Jewish community celebrating Shabbat or the seasonal holidays. And on this week, I feel a connection of magic pulling out of the air with the rhythm of the drum, the vibrations of the cello, and the spark of energy that moves throughout this room as we connect, not just with each other, but to the broader Jewish community than we have truly imagined before. Thank you.